Hey, what's up, everybody? This is SparCenter, the very first episode of SparCenter. Where do I start? This is a podcast that we've been wanting to do and discussing doing for years now.
For years.
So for all of you who don't know us, because this is the first episode, this is my uncle Derek. I'm Kosi.
We've been doing it without recording this for years.
Yeah. The first fight we watched together had to be Nas versus Barrera.
My guy.
2001, yeah, his guy. I was going for Nas. Consistent theme that you guys are gonna recognize is that we're always on opposite sides of the ring.
Not always.
Not always, for the most part though. It just seems to work out that way. for the most part, right? So I don't know. We like we said, we've been watching boxing for years together. This guy introduced me to boxing, and every Saturday night for the most part over the last 20 years we've been together watching fights. So we feel like we have a good perspective to bring to the YouTube space. See a lot of people giving their opinions, and we have some knowledge and opinions that we'd like to share also.
Paid for a lot of pay-per-views before this streaming came into play. We paid for a lot
of money.
So we keep it real.
Yeah. A lot of money was spent. So
we love boxing.
Yeah.
So
all right. So we gave y'all a little background. Of course, we want to shout out the forefathers of the people that we take heed to, the people that we watch that have been doing this same boxing podcast, and the Porter Ways, the Boxing Voice. Who else? I'm losing. Fight Hype.
I like Punch. I like how Punch does his stuff. He's pretty on point sometimes.
Did I say Boxing Wave or the Boxing Voice? Both of those.
I like Boxing Wave. Boxing Wave is cool.
Yeah, don't agree with everything that everyone says, but we appreciate the
just
opinions.
their approach.
Yeah,
you know,
and the consistency more so.
And you know what? Just on grind level, and just on the level of actually just putting out content, I appreciate all content.
Right.
Blue, Fannin, this guy's, even like I said, guys, you don't
Champ Side,
you know, Fight Hype. You mentioned Fight Hype?
Yeah, I said Fight Hype earlier. But yeah, there's a lot of boxing channels out there. Ellie Sackback reporting. Anybody who's contributing to the boxing space, because we know the major platforms really don't give us that information and that consistency that we desire because of a lot of reasons. But so everyone who has their feet to the ground and are doing the work, we appreciate you guys, and we just want to make our little contribution.
This is our contribution.
Right.
Much needed contribution,
so,
I think.
Yeah. So no better time to start this podcast than this week. This is fight week for Plant BENAVIDEZ, or BENAVIDEZ Plant, however you see the fight and whoever you're leaning towards, because this is a fight that we've been discussing for years, maybe 3 years now. We've been discussing this fight.
For years, when I was positive that Caleb Plant would win this fight.
And I was positive that David BENAVIDEZ would win this fight.
Not so positive anymore.
Yeah, things change on a daily basis, especially in boxing. You're only as good as your last fight. You're only as good as your last victory or loss. So this fight is one that we've been waiting for, and we definitely have some strong opinions when it comes to this fight. So we'll start off.
Well, we could talk about the two fighters that we're dealing with right now: Caleb Plant, David BENAVIDEZ. David BENAVIDEZ, 26 wins, 0 losses, as we know.
Was it 23 knockouts?
By KO.
Yeah.
We know he comes with firepower.
The Mexican monster, right?
The Mexican monster, as he likes to call himself, right?
So he let go. He let go. El Bandero Roja.
Bandero Roja.
You just running with Mexican monster now.
Once Mike brought the Mexican monster into play,
yeah. You've been rolling with that.
Once Mike blesses you on something, you roll with that, and that's what he's doing.
So
we know he has the firepower. So that, you know, he's an open book. We know what's coming from him. Caleb Plant, 22 wins, 1 loss. We know what loss that was to Canelo.
Yeah. But
no draws, 13 KOs. But that 13 KO,
the 13th KO.
The 13th KO brings into question what we are gonna see.
Yeah, it changes that one fight with Darrell changes a lot for me. Not because we don't do the triangle. Yeah, it doesn't do the triangle. We don't do the triangle effect when it comes to boxing
No,
because
no.
because Benavidez beat Darrell this way and Caleb beat Darrell this way, it doesn't mean anything because styles make fights. We
Especially
already
for
know
this
that.
fight.
But I'm from the very beginning. I've been a strong supporter of David Benavidez. The first fight I think I saw live was Porky Medina, and that's the highlight fight. That's the fight that everybody goes to with the 18 punch combination at the end of the fight. I think that was the 8th round knockout. My perspective is the same. I think that David's pressure, how he imposes himself physically, and the speed, hand speed, not foot speed, but hand speed, will be a bit too much for Caleb to avoid for 12 straight rounds. That's my opinion, and I'm still going with David Benavidez. Now, I know you, in the past, you had a totally different view. I don't know if that's changed recently.
It has changed, but not because of David Benavidez. Again, David Benavidez is an open book. You know what he's coming with. Constant combinations, power in each hand. I don't know if it's concussive knockout power in each hand, but it is
thumping power. Not thumping power?
Yeah, it is enough to hurt. Right? As we see even with Darrell, it's enough to bust up. But I thought that the ring generalship of Caleb Plant would offset that for one reason. I don't know if the pressure of David Benavidez is his just natural talent of having pressure and how it's affecting these fighters, or he hasn't fought a guy to offset the pressure that he brings, right? That would either show a different side of him to make him do something else, or if he is that Mexican monster that would I would overwhelm anybody who I'm facing. Judging how fighters have been avoiding this guy, you want to lean on he is who they say he is.
Yeah.
Everybody who's met him, we haven't met him yet, but everybody who's met him, first thing they say is how big he is. We can see evidently how fast he is of hands. So I could see him posing a problem for everyone. I previously thought that the ring generalship of Caleb Plant would be too much.
But now there's new information in the pot.
New information from Canelo, new information from Darrell. New information from Canelo is, does this guy have a stamina issue? Or is it a focus issue?
My thing with slicksters, counterpunchers who don't possess one punch knockout power, even keep them off of me power, is you can't maintain that pace. Very few boxers are able to maintain that pace for 12 rounds. And what happens when you slow down?
This is going to be a regular theme for the life of this podcast, by the way.
What happens when you slow down? What happens when you can't keep this man off of you at the same rate you were doing in the first, second, third round?
My thing is, if you can't, and he is coming with constant pressure, yes, it's a long night or it might be a short night.
Yeah.
Right? But if you have effective punching, not necessarily power punching, but effective punching.
Right.
I've seen fights where guys are capable of keeping guys off of them with effective punching. The main culprit of that, who he doesn't really, well, we'll get into that. But Devin Haney, his lack of power hasn't really affected him to this point.
Right.
And I thought that Caleb Plant was going to be that guy. Now, mind you, it is tougher to do it in the heavier divisions.
For sure.
But with the Canelo fight, what I necessarily saw, not necessarily his lack of punching power to keep Canelo off of him.
Even make Canelo respected.
Not even make him respected, but I saw a lack of focus that I never thought that I would see from Caleb Plant. A lack of focus.
It's hard to maintain that focus and that same level of energy for 12 rounds. That's what I'm saying. At some point, something is going to crack, whether it's your focus or whether it's your stamina, something is going to give, especially if you're being walked down and pressured for round after round after round on somebody that you're not hurting, somebody that doesn't respect your power. But when I said we had more information in the pot is we both watch at the trainers roundtable, and Santos is saying that he's seen David Benavidez box technically with
do
the
stuff
best of them, that he never did in a fight.
He never demonstrated in a fight. He says that this guy is equally as good at that as what we see with the power.
So he's saying that David Benavidez has just been this pressure fighter, knockout guy to garner fans, but in the gym and sparring, he's a boxing savant.
I'm of the mindset where I'm of the Bill Parcells school mindset that your record, that's who you are. Who we see with David Benavidez in all of his location and in all of his fights, that's who he is. I could be wrong, but I just feel that that's who he is. I just feel these guys are an open book. You see what they are what you see. Ring generalship, Caleb Plant.
You got to give Caleb the upper hand in ring generalship.
Right, ring generalship, Caleb Plant, power and aggressiveness, and even being more busy. Obviously,
have you said who
David Benavidez?
So who you leaning towards?
Okay, so like I said before, pre-Canelo, I was strongly leaning towards Caleb Plant. Strongly, right? I'm a person that leans towards guys who do focus on footwork, who do focuses on ring generalship over the aggressive KO artist or, the guy who just wants to get you out of there. That's what I saw David Benavidez as. Having said that, his aggression is like probably not, I can't say I've seen much guys with the aggression and the hand speed of David Benavidez.
Not at that size. Not
at that size. Yeah. And I don't want to sound sacrilegious by calling Tommy Hearns. I don't want to do that. But for lack of a better, word.
Even bigger than Tommy Hearns.
Tommy Hearns, right? As far as the hand speed. So his hand speed covers up a lot, and it will cover up a lot to where he may not need to depend on much stuff, right? Now, mind you, I'm focusing on hand speed more than power because, again, we don't really see the concussive power of David Benavidez. You more see the overwhelming output of David Benavidez, just overpowering guys. So what I would say is pre-Canelo, I actually lost a lot of faith in Plant. Pre-Canelo. I'm sorry, post-Canelo.
Right.
Post-Canelo. Post-Darrell now is where we have some new information where you have to ask yourself, okay, it's being said that David Benavidez has other tools that we don't see. Does this newfound power that we just saw against Darrell?
Right. Now, how long was not Darrell? What was Caleb's first fight with Breadman as his trainer?
I think Darrell. I think this was the first fight. I was looking at an interview. I could be wrong, but I think
I think I think Breadman was in the corner for Canelo, was he? But either way, I think this power is something new because is the power new? Did he just catch Darrell with a good punch? Because we've seen Caleb go 12 rounds with Truax, 12 rounds with Uzcategui, 12 rounds
guys
with finesse them,
but he did put Uzcategui down.
He dropped them, but he didn't. He dug a hole for Darrell.
Right. So this is what I'm saying.
So putting somebody down and then digging a hole for them.
Do you think like how Sugar Ray plays a part in what we see of Tyson Fury now? Pre-Wilder, Tyson Fury was a boring fighter. I mean, let's face it. Not boring of personality, but boring in the ring. Post Sugar Ray, after he let Davison go, post Sugar Ray, Tyson Fury is, he looks indestructible.
Yeah. He's a different animal,
and he's a power machine. He walks in the ring, and his power is what he brings forth.
Is it a physical thing or is it a mindset thing? Because Tyson Fury turned his mindset is different now. He said that ever since he got with this Kronk style is knockout. That's
right.
what he's
So
going
you
for
could
knockouts.
point to
Knocking heads off.
you could point to Sugar Ray and say, yes, he is like this because of Sugar Ray. He is that offensive fighter that we see now, not the dancer that Klitschko face because of Sugar Ray, right? Is Breadman responsible for this power, or was it just a situation that Darrell just happened to be in that location? I mean, you could look at the build-up of that knockout. It wasn't 50. It wasn't 50-50. It wasn't 50-50.
The fight was pretty bland.
But it was. You didn't expect this. Mm-hmm. We didn't even know Caleb Plant was going to do this.
We didn't know he was capable.
We didn't know he was capable of doing it.
Honestly, no one knew he was capable of doing that until he did it. So, but now that he has done it, do you consider it a fluke, or do you add it as an attribute in his arsenal?
That's the question. So, if I have to say, listen, I've been on record saying that I had Caleb Plant over BENAVIDEZ for the past 4 years or past 3+ years. I'm not gonna flake now. I do see Caleb Plant.
You see him doing what?
Using his ring generalship and newfound power to keep David BENAVIDEZ off of him,
Right.
and winning decision. It's going to be exciting. It's not going to be boring. Nothing about these guys are going to be boring. So it's not going to be a boring fight. Probably if you look back at the fight, like, oh, the fight really wasn't all that. But the night of the fight, when you realize who these two guys are, I think at the end of the 12 rounds, it's going to be Caleb Plant.
It'll be exciting simply because I believe, a lot of fighters before they fight act like they don't like each other. They conjure up this fake beef, and so I don't know if they hate each other, but I believe that they definitely don't like each other.
So I'm gonna ask you, do you factor that in the pot for this fight? David BENAVIDEZ is what we see and what we could call, I don't want to call it lack of discipline. Mm-hmm. You saw him at the press conference. You want to call it lack of...
That's selling tickets, though. That's selling tickets. I think here's where, because I already said in my opinion, I'm rolling with BENAVIDEZ.
How? Okay, before you go, how? How do you see this fight playing out with BENAVIDEZ winning? How do you see
He'll walk him down.
From round one?
Yeah, from round one. And if he catches Caleb, it won't be a one-punch knockout kind of situation, but like we said, it's going to be a cumulative result of just pressure and flurries and Caleb a fold. Like he said in the press conference, he's like, we already know you're not a... what do you say? You're not a lion, you're a sheep. We saw you fold. We saw you fold in the Canelo fight. We saw you give up because he wasn't out cold. So this is the only thing where... And I leave that to boxers. I don't question a boxer's heart. I'm just repeating what BENAVIDEZ said because I'm not in the ring.
Listen,
Anybody that's up in that ring, you got to give them their props. You can't question a man's heart.
Listen, and this is for all boxers here. Trust me, this podcast has immense love for every fighter that steps in the ring. I even had my nephew in the ring a couple of times. Trust me, we know what it takes to walk into that ring. Yeah. So there's no this is just on a general statement, and all we're doing is literally pitting one style and one fighter against the other.
But let me say this. My one concern with BENAVIDEZ in this fight is his flat-footedness. If at some point Caleb's slickness and counterpunching frustrates him, because from what he, like I said, Santos said he's a boxing savant, but from what we see in the ring, it's just flat foot, walk forward, pressure.
Right.
If that movement from Caleb that he was giving Canelo for the first couple of rounds in that fight, if that frustrates BENAVIDEZ, and the fact that he doesn't like Plant, BENAVIDEZ goes out there and just
out of character,
just wows the whole thing up. That won't bode well for him, because I think.
Do you see something like that happening? And if you do see something like that happening, when could you envision, or what round could you envision that happening?
When he gets frustrated?
Yeah, let's say again, he starts the fight and he realizes, okay, I'm going to overwhelm this guy, which is what he's saying. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe he believes what he's saying, right? We do not believe that he lacks confidence of what he's going to do to Plant. But round one, let's say he tries it. Round two, 3, 4.
6, 7.
What do you give? What's the fortitude you give? What's the level of fortitude you give BENAVIDEZ to go back in the corner with his dad, who's almost equally as emotional, was more emotional in the presser, right? To stop, focus, regain focus and say, listen, at the end of the day, this is a boxing match. That's a professional boxer you have on the other side. We need to do
I don't see that
different things.
No.
So you see
if the initial plan doesn't work
right.
for David
Plan
BENAVIDEZ
B.
and he becomes frustrated by the slickness of Caleb Plant, that's when the fight turns into
Uglyville?
mayhem.
Uglyville?
Yeah, mayhem.
Low blows?
Nah, I don't think low blows, but I think he definitely he'll put his foot down on the gas and it could be to his detriment.
So that's it. So if his plan A doesn't work, he's just gonna what? Just implement plan A more?
Yeah, plan A squared.
Do you think he's willing to lose a 12-round decision on one plan?
Like I said, like we've been saying, you could only judge a fighter on what he's shown you.
Right. He's only shown you one.
Have we seen
Switch up?
David BENAVIDEZ adjustment in a fight?
No.
I don't think you ever seen an adjustment. The only adjustment is
he never had
more.
He never had to. Probably Ellis. I think Ellis.
Yeah, that was
Ellis. Ellis was like a little.
And
like
that's
a
a Breadman fight also. So
right.
he fought against Breadman before in terms of coaching. But
he just gives you more.
He
just gives you
Tyrone
more.
Ellis? I don't know.
Yeah, Karen Davis.
Davis, right.
Yeah, Davis. So he gives you more of the Mexican monster. That's what he does. Yeah. Right? That's what we've seen so far.
He just applies pressure until you fold the last bell rings.
Until we see some more information, we can't really say what we haven't seen. So
still rolling with David though. I'm still rolling with BENAVIDEZ simply because.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. So what do you see? What do you see? What do you envision? How do you envision the fight go? The bell rings, they walk to each other, and what do you see? Just pressure?
Pressure, and I think like the size, because all right, Canelo's a small middleweight. He went all the way up to 175, but Canelo in terms of height and stature, BENAVIDEZ has a stature of a light heavyweight. Honestly, right. if he wanted to be a light heavyweight,
he has the frame to full out light heavyweight.
Yeah. So I think just that size, him imposing that size with that pressure on Caleb, because the ring is only so much movement. There's only so much movement you could do, and like I always say, for a finesse fighter, for a stylish fighter, a counter puncher,
you think that he has
only
to have
a certain
at least a little bit more power to coexist with that style. I mean, that's your thing. You think that even though stylists are supposed to have at least, so Floyd is an anomaly in your case. Everybody can't be Floyd, which is obvious.
Yeah,
everybody can't be Floyd. Everybody can't be Floyd. But you just think that for everyone else.
And I think Floyd wasn't a devastating punch, especially later in his career when his hands got bad. But I think Floyd had enough to make you think twice. Not to hurt you all the time, but he had enough that'll make you think twice. So the speed and the angles was just so much that it'll frustrate you, and that'll make you think twice, even if it wasn't it wasn't
raw power. It wasn't raw. Yeah. Right. It wasn't that. But
yeah.
I mean, listen, you gave your assessment of the fact that you acknowledge that you haven't seen a plan B from BENAVIDEZ. My only thing is, and watching Harrison Zoo last week, by the way, we would like to touch on that a little bit, whether it's this podcast or the other, but Harrison has shown a bad habit of when he gets tagged late, he folds, right?
Yeah.
Again, enough respect to Harrison. We're not talking about you in the regular sense. We're just talking about the elite against the elite and what we see that happens with the elites on an elite level. What I want to question is the newfound power against Darrell what Plant really is, or is the late folding or the late power shot that Plant took from
Canelo
and folding, is that the real plan? So we don't know, and that's what
can't.
that's what I'm wrestling with. I'm going with the newfound power. I think the experience.
What about how much of that one punch knockout was the deterioration of Darrell?
Could be very much so. Could be
Because it wasn't like when he connected in the earlier rounds, it wasn't like Darrell was wincing in pain when he was getting connected. It's just that one punch landed at the right time, at the right point.
Right.
On the right guy.
Good point.
The right guy, the guy who's been through a lot.
Good point.
True warrior, but he's been through a lot.
Good point. But again, once you're in position to do it and you do it, I think now Caleb thinks, wow, I could do it. Now again,
But that could be false.
He
too.
may
That could be false. So he could probably think he could crack it. He probably can't crack. He just called the right dude.
He may hit BENAVIDEZ with that same shot, and he might not go anywhere. And now Caleb has to dig into plan B or plan C, right? We think that going into the fight, based on even how these guys are talking, that he does have a plan B and plan C.
I think Caleb has plans A through Z. I think he has the ability to have plans A through Z.
Right. And also because he understands I don't have the firepower of this guy. And I think when you look and you listen to them, he acknowledges I don't have the power, the firepower of this guy. So that could work. That could work for him. I mean, it could work against him also if he's going and conceding, a major part of this fight. I'll just go with his ring generalship. Now, I also want to touch on something. That left hook that he hit Darrell. We were just looking up Graville.
Right. Same left hook.
Graville put
Not
BENAVIDEZ
but a left hook.
A left hook. Wasn't a power left hook. You could attribute this more to his stepping heavy, because he does step really heavy. And when he gets comfortable, something I don't like about BENAVIDEZ,
Those hands don't come back up.
his hands don't come back up, and he looks like he doesn't care if he gets hit. I don't like boxers who walk in the ring and they act like they don't care if they get hit. When BENAVIDEZ turns into the Mexican monster, he gives off that vibe that he doesn't care if he gets hit. I think that works in Caleb Plant's favor. The same left hook, David Plant he's very well versed in all punches, even though he doesn't have the power. He is very capable of landing that left hook.
Yeah, and it's not, and it's like David will give him the opportunity to land it also, especially if the fight gets a little bit steamy. David is gonna abandon defense.
I'm not 100% sure, like how I used to be on a Caleb Plant victory. But I said it before, and I still do see avenues to where he can win. I also want to touch on, I look at BENAVIDEZ. I look at his stature. He is a big dude, but he's big of legs. He's big of limbs. He's big of arms. He's big of...
He's long.
He's long. His legs, even from, his lower portion of his body, is huge. And he cuts a huge frame. But I looked at his body, and mind you, I get it. He's not body beautiful. He's not going to be,
Anthony Joshua.
He's not going to be Anthony Joshua anytime soon, He's not going to look that part. But his body, I don't know if his body is as sturdy or can take as much, damage as he covers up with the firepower that he has. I don't know if that's like the guards outside of the moat protecting the castle, and we've just never seen anyone get into that castle to see what can happen.
But I do believe in his ability to take punishment, because even when he was dropped, he wasn't hurt.
Nah, he wasn't hurt. It was a flash.
He was flashing.
It was a flash. But like I said, even if that's the case where I do have questions about the BENAVIDEZ's body, this is not the fight to really test it anyway, because Plant's not the guy that's gonna, ask those questions of David.
Yeah.
So Plant, like I said, ring generalship. He has the ability. We know he has the ability.
So final. Hold on, because I don't know how long we've been going. Final. Plant BENAVIDEZ Plant. Who you rolling with?
Caleb, 12. Close fight, 6-4.
6-4.
6 rounds to 4. Close fight, no knockdowns.
David Benavidez knockout 8th round. That's my final decision. 8.
Punishment up to 8? Or just
Yeah.
like
Punishment from around the 4th to 8th. I don't see him punishing him from the very first round. I think Caleb have the legs to get away from it, but he might, like when he fought Lemieux, he caught Lemieux with something in the 3rd round, and then he just started to pile it on. I think Caleb is going to be moving and being a regular slickster he is. He's going to get caught with something around the 3rd, 4th round that's going to slow him up, and then it's a compounding of just punishment, and they're going to throw it in.
Yeah, I mean, again, I cannot argue with that based off of the fact that, like I said, what we saw with Harrison, you've seen that with Caleb. So you've seen that.
And like with Harrison, I don't like how Caleb looks when he gets hit. Like when Caleb
in the late rounds.
Yeah, when he got hit by Canelo, he didn't look like a guy that was going to regroup and have a chance at pulling this out. As soon as he got hit, he looked like he was done. The same way when Tony Harrison gets hit, Tony Harrison will be looking like the best boxer for 8-9 rounds, and as soon as he gets hit, it's like his energy bar drops all the way down. To 20%.
So we did see that, but we did see that, and that is a possibility. But I'll still go that I'll add in a sloppy Benavidez. And a great game plan.
Yeah, that
from Bread and the Caleb Plant team.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I think in terms of conditioning, I think he's Plant is working with, what's my man's name? He worked with Sean Porter, elite conditioning coach. I can't remember his name right now, but
he was Wade, I think. Wade,
Larry Wade. I think Larry.
I can't remember. I saw the interview where
Caleb has him. That's another thing. Caleb puts 110 into training. He's not slacking. He's always comes in tip top. What you call it, body beautiful. He always comes in tip top shape.
As you said, he has to. He has nothing to lean on.
Yeah.
Nothing to lean on.
But
Caleb,
you know what he's leaning on.
But the power, you don't have that to bail you out. Like a lot of fighters are like, I could do whatever because I have this right here.
But you never know if that one punch knockout against Darrell proves not to be a fluke, proves not to be just the circumstance of who he was fighting.
Perfect timing, perfect location,
if Caleb Plant has that in his arsenal, he might be untouchable at this weight class.
Would Caleb be able to catch him clean? Headshots.
Yeah, he's gonna hit him. He's gonna hit him at some point. It's David Benavidez we're talking about. He's gonna get hit. He's gonna get hit, but he better make those punches worth it. Make them count. Before we get out of here, the biggest fight in boxing, the biggest fight ever, according to some people.
I think what we just talked about was the biggest fight so far in boxing.
I think it's a bigger fight than Davis Garcia, but for the global impact, for the people that are not everyday boxing fans, the casuals, the amount of numbers of people who are going to just come in, it's going to be fun. We don't want to get too much into it because we got a couple of weeks out for that fight still, but is Tank overrated and Ryan Garcia underrated? Or is it the other way around? Is Garcia overrated and Tank underrated?
I'm going to answer the question that you asked me. I'm not going to go around it to where it's going to be the PC. I'm going to ask you the question you asked me. I think the general consensus of Tank is he does stuff that I don't think he can do, or I don't see him do. So he gets credit for ring generalship. He gets credit for defense. He gets credit for creating these openings that he lays guys out with. I don't see those things. So based off of that, I would say Tank is overrated. That could be wrong, right? But that's what you asked me. Mm-hmm. Ryan Garcia. I don't know if we have a good enough sample size of Ryan Garcia. I don't think you'd have to be a really major Ryan Garcia hater to say that the kid doesn't have talent. He has elite speed. He has elite power, at least off of the left, the right hook.
Left.
The left, right?
I think it's the left.
Yeah. The way he whips it. So he has elite power. To say that he doesn't have any talent, is to say, is to be a straight hater of Ryan Garcia. Mm-hmm. He has decent footwork. What he uses his footwork for sometimes, he probably loses focus. He lost focus against Campbell. He is rated as a YouTube guy. Not a YouTube, a social media guy.
Yeah, that's based on his popularity.
He's rated as a guy just above Jake Paul. In my book, what I see people talk about this guy, he's a social media guy, he's this, So on that note, I would say he is underrated. Now, you answer your own question.
As a self-proclaimed Tank fan, strangely enough, I believe that he's not overrated or underrated, and I think it's because his promotion, the way they moved him, he hasn't been in there with high class enough opponents for me to use as how do I say it? Artillery for my arguments. I haven't seen him do the things that I think he's capable of doing against good enough opponents to say see, this is why he's not underrated. This is why he's not overrated. This and that, third. Mm-hmm. I think he has everything. I think he's a total package. I just think that he hasn't been in there with good enough fighters and shown it for me to say, remember when he fought this guy, look at when he did this, when he had to change or had to pivot towards another game plan. And so I think Tank isn't overrated. I mean, I think Tank is a lot better than people think he is, or a lot better than he has been able to show us. So in that case, I think Tank is underrated by the majority of people. And Ryan, like you said, I don't think Ryan has shown us enough for him to be overrated or underrated. I think people, and if you look at the comments on social media when this fight is brought up, people saying that he's gonna knock Tank out clean and stuff. So I don't even know if that's from serious fans.
That's what I'm saying.
Or if that's from just casuals.
But the general consensus of boxing fans.
What is the general? What do you think of Ryan?
That's what I'm saying. They don't think much of Ryan, the boxer. He hasn't given us a large enough sample size for us to think about him, the boxer. But when you hear the name,
torn with Tank.
When you hear, I mean, I'm not torn with Tank.
You aren't. But then, with people like me who I just believe in his abilities, but at the same time there's real boxing fans who watch just as much boxing as me that don't believe him at all in terms of you, because you think he loses to Haney, you think he loses to Shakur easily, correct?
Keyshawn, Frank Martin,
you think he loses to everyone.
Lomachenko.
Anybody with a heartbeat, you think?
No. It's a 50-50 with Teo at 135 or 140. It's a 50-50.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. But that's a topic that we have to really.
Once we start getting into this, like I said, but the only thing is that as far as let's get back to Ryan, when you see the name Ryan Garcia, you see social media right after. You hear social media right after.
Yeah.
So they don't talk about his boxing accomplishments
because he hasn't accomplished anything in boxing. So and some would say Tank can't accomplish anything either because all the belts he has are secondary.
Right, but when people talk about Tank, they talk about boxing.
Yeah.
They don't talk about boxing.
Yeah, because he's a boxer.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So just
boxing,
on a basic level, they see Tank as a legit boxer, which I do too. Mm-hmm. And again, he does have a way better resume than Ryan as far as boxing goes. There are times when you don't see Ryan that you don't know, is he worried about boxing or is he worried about his social media presence? Yeah. So
I think Tank is
warranted.
I think Tank is the truth. I just think that he needs to be in there with the right guys in order to give his fans, and even at some point, I think give himself the reassurance that he is everything that people believe him to be.
So you told the people what I think and who I think he will lose to. Out of all those names, we will touch on it when we do dig deeper into this.
For another episode. Because we'll be here forever. Listen, thank you for tuning in. Anyone who watches this episode, feel free to comment. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you think we should touch on in the future. What didn't you like about this episode? This is the first episode, so don't kill us in the comments. I know some of y'all guys go overboard in the comments. I'm not tolerating none of that. So thank you guys for watching us. It's the first episode of SparCenter.
Like and subscribe, SparCenter.
Yeah, let's turn it up. Let's turn it up. We'll be here every week. Previews to fights, predictions, reviews. We got you. SparCenter.